Okay, so let's start this class. Okay, so in today's class, we will study the chapter 19, generics. Okay, so, and then we introduce you the generics class, generic interface, generic methods. Okay, so let's first talk about generic class. So remember, we already learned the array list. Okay, you already learned the array list before. Okay, array list, which is a generic class. Okay, so in the Java standard library, okay, in Java API, the array list is defined as a generic class. Okay, so here is what is a generic class means. Okay, this is means when we defined, we didn't specify the data, the type will be stored in the array list. So the type is a generic type, and this type can be replaced later on with concrete type. So for example, if you want to have a array list store all the string elements, you might have the define this like this, we call this is a string list, something like that. If you want to have your element, your array list hold all the integers, okay, so you might have this is a int list. Okay, so and so on. So here, and we talk about this array list. This is a array list. This is a generic class. Okay, so what is I mean by the generics? So generics let you parameterize the type, okay, and with this compatibility. Okay, so and so you can define you can define a class or a method with a generic type. Okay, with a generic types. And so in the later on, that the compiler, in the later on, we write the program, and you can specify what type you actually want to put in, like the array list. The array list, when we define this class, we make this is a generic class, which is means we didn't specify the what data type will be stored in the array list, and we make this type can be replaced with a concrete type. If you want to store the string into the array list, you replace this question mark with a string. If you want to store an integer element, you replace this question mark with an integer type. Okay, so this means that we can, when we define this generic class, and we can replace this generic type. Later on, the compiler will replace, compiler can replace the generic type with concrete types. Yeah, concrete types like the string and the integer and so on. And this is a generic class. And so we also learn one generic interface. Okay, so in the Java 102, you learn this comparable interface, right? Comparable interface. So comparable interface is defined like this. It's this one is a generic interface, and so you can compare if you want to compare two string. Okay, so which is basically the question mark will be replaced as a comparable string. If you want to comparable to circles, and you can replace the question mark with a circle. Okay, so now let's working on some examples here. Okay, so let's see, this class is chapter 19-1. Okay, so this is our class, and let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so okay, so we have our public static void main method for the testing purpose later on. Okay, so let's first learn how to define a generic class. Okay, so let's first give you the example and then we explain this later on. Okay, so for example, I want to define a class called cell. Okay, this cell, what data type, what elements will be put in the cell? I don't know. I using T as a generic type. Okay, so this T can be replaced later on. Okay, so in the cell, I have a private variable, okay, is which is T type of T. This is a prisoner. Okay, so I don't know. So since I define this cell as a generic class, okay, so what element will be, what prisoner will be put in the cell? What is the type? I don't know. Okay, but I using the T as generic type. Okay, so and now let's have constructor of this one. Okay, so okay, and I want to put a prisoner into the cell. Okay, so now I can make the prisoner using the P to replace the prisoner. Okay, so now let's print out my prisoner. Okay, so let's override these two string methods. Okay, when we override these two string methods, which is allow us to convert object to a string. Okay, so for example, this one we will trying to print the prisoner. Okay, since my prisoner, which is a type of T, I will need to print out this as a string. Okay, so this is how we define a generic class. Okay, so my cell, which is generic class. Okay, so and then now you might already notice that. Okay, so the T right here, the T is a generic type. This one will be replaced using concrete class later on. And so we're using the we're using the T, that is for short for the type. Okay, so actually you can using any type of any letter to represent this generic the type. Okay, so invocation of a generic type is referred to as a parameter type. Parameterized type. Okay, we using T, or which is represents a type. We using E for the element. We using key for a key. We using V for a value. Okay, so and we may using letter N for numbers. Okay, so for number. Okay, so now let's see, when you define a generic class, okay, class name and this square, the square, and then inside this square you this is you use a letter to represent your generic type. You see, since in the cell I only have one element, so and the data type I'm using a T as generic type. Okay, my prisoner will be type of T. And this is how I construct a cell object. Okay, I put this P, and this P is type of T, and this one will be assigned to the prisoner. Okay, so the two string methods will be, we will return string representation of the prisoner. Okay, so this is how we define a prisoner. Okay, now let's testing our the generic class we just defined. Okay, go to your main methods. Okay, it's right here. When you go to your main methods, okay, so now let's see, let's declare a cell object. Okay, so in this cell, I want to put some integer. Okay, so when we trying to use this generic class, we will replace the t, we will replace here. Okay, so replace a generic type t with a concrete class integer. Okay, so this is my cell 1. Okay, this cell 1, okay, I will put an integer into my cell. Okay, so okay, now let's see, I want to put an integer of let's say 2. Okay, okay, so since the 2, this is integer, and the integer, this is integer class, this is an object, so we can wrap this as a new wrap integer primitive data type to an object. Okay, so okay, so that is my cell 1. Okay, now let's print out what is my, remember we have my cell 1, we have these 2 string methods. The 2 string methods will return the string representation of my object. Okay, so now let's compile. Oops, okay, let me see. System out. Oh yeah, I put this the wrong one. Okay, so here is my parentheses, it should be here. Okay. Okay, now let's compile. Okay. Let's run it. Okay, it's right here. Okay, so now this is I replace the t with integer. Okay, so my cell also can hold a prisoner of the, let's say, a string. Okay, so for example, okay, I replace the t type with a string. Okay, this is my cell 2, which is a new cell, and I replace this with a string. Okay, so and let's see, is ABC. Okay, so
Professor,
yes.
Can you maximize your zoom, your screen? Maximize it.
Maximum. Okay, wait a second. Let me.
Yeah, your window. Yeah.
It's good now.
Yes, it's good now.
Okay. So, okay, similar thing. We can print out what is in my cell 2. Okay, so the cell 2 that will be return ABC. Okay, so let's go to see here. Okay, this is your cell 1 and cell 2. Okay, so this is let's review this first generic class we defined. Okay, so class and class name and the generic type, and this is how you define your class. Okay, so now let's have try another example. This time I want to define a class of pair. Okay, so I want to define the class is a pair. This pair, I have the pair will be hold 2 values, a key and a value pairs. Okay, so I using letter K for the type of the key. I using letter V for the generic type of the value Okay, so and we have 2 private data field. One is key, and key is type of key V is type of value, for value. Okay, so remember, keep in mind, this key and V will be replaced using the concrete class in the later program. Okay, so now let's have our constructor. Okay, constructor path. Okay, we using we pass a key, which is which is a type of key, and the V, which is a type of value. Okay, so then we're using the key to replace the key, and the V to replace the value. Okay, so this is our constructor. Okay, so now let's define some instance generic method. Okay, so I want to, since this is a private data field, key and value. Okay, let's implement this get methods. Okay, get key will be return. This one will be return the key of my pair. Okay, so and we have this V. So okay, get value will be return the value of the pair. Okay, so and this is our this is how we define these two generic method. This get key value, this one return a value. The type of this return type is a key. This is generic type. This will be replaced in the future. Okay, so and also let's override the toString method, because we always want to print our object. Okay, so toString methods, and so what I want to print is I want to print, since this is a pair, I want to print the key and the value pair. The format look like this. Okay, so then we need to return what? We need to return the key and the value pair plus key dot toString. Okay, this is our key and the plus, and we want to make this like this. Okay, and okay, so plus, and we also want this value dot toString. Okay, and then we need the other half of the parentheses. Okay, so this is how we return a string representation of the key value pairs. Okay, so now let's testing our generic class pair. Okay, so okay, now go back to your main methods. Okay, go back to your main methods. This time I want to have the integer string pair. Okay, so like the integer is your ID number, string is your name, something like that. Okay, so I replace the key with a integer, and I replace the value type V with a pair. Okay, so let's see, the pair 1 equal to new pair. Okay, and this key is integer, value is a string. Okay, so now let's construct that. Okay, so let's for example 1 2 3, and this is ID, and the value is none. Okay, so this is how we construct a generic class with in this generic class we have two generic type, key and V. The key is replaced by integer, V is replaced by the string. Okay, we generated this pair. Okay, this pair object P1, which is an integer string pair. Okay, so now let's system.out.println. Okay, so let's print out this one. Okay, so we will be print out the P1 to a string. Let's see. Okay, so now let's compile and let's run it. Now you can see we will be print out our pair. We have the pair is a integer to a string pair. Okay, so this is how we define a generic class with two generic type. Okay, so now let's talk about this is how we define the generic class. Okay, and we said okay, we also can define a generic interface, and we said that we already learned the comparable before, right? Comparable is a generic interface. If you want to compare to string, the question mark will be replaced by the string. If you try to compare to circle, that will be replaced by circle. Okay, so now let's testing this how to implement this generic interface. Okay, so let's go to all the way to the end. Okay, so let's first have our circle class. Okay, the circle class, this is yeah, that is a regular class. Okay, and the circle class has a let's use a double. Okay, so radians, a circle has a data field is radians, and we have our circles constructor. Okay, so I will the circles, this is a default constructor. Okay, so the default by default I will be create a circle with radians of 1. Okay, so I have another constructor, and which is a constructor with parameter. Okay, so I will be construct a circle with giving radians. Okay, so my radians will be equal to R. Okay, so and for the circle, I might want to find the area. Let's see, get area. Okay, we will return this message will be return the area of the circle. Okay, so remember we know how to calculate the area of circle, which is pi times r square. Okay, radians and times radians. Okay, this is how we get the radians of the circle. Okay, as always, I want to after I declare a circle object, I also want to print my circle object. So we need to overwrite these two string methods. Okay, so remember two string methods will be return a string representation of my circle object. So this one I want to return what? I want to return shows, okay, this is a circle object and with radians of something. Okay, so this is our circle object. Okay, so okay, so but okay, let me if you want to compare two string, okay, so remember in the Java 102, when we talk about the interface, okay, so if you want to make if you're trying to compare two circle, okay, so we can implement the comparable interface. Okay, since we are trying to, if we try to compare circle, we only can compare circle with circle. You cannot compare circle with a string or circle with some other object, right? Since I need to compare circle with circle, so we need to implement this comparable interface. Okay, I need to compare circle with circle. So I will replace, let me write down this here. Okay, so the comparable interface, okay, this is a question mark. If you want to compare circle with circle, okay, so you need to replace this question mark with a circle object. Now we will be able to compare circle with circle. Since the comparable interface, we need to override this compare to methods. That will be allow us in this class. Okay, so in this interface, and there has an abstract method called compare to. Okay, so compare to, they will be passed. Yeah, let's using a T right here. Okay, so this one is I will compare the current object with another same object. Okay, so which is means if we trying to make our circle comparable, we need to implement this comparable interface with the circle compare circle. So since we implement this comparable interface, we need to override its static method of compare to. Okay, the compare to methods, the method's signature is public int compare to. Okay, in this case is since we want to compare the circle with another circle. Okay, so okay, so let me give this right here. Okay, so the compare to, okay, so yeah, let me write this inside. Okay, so this one will be return an integer value. Okay, if your this object, this circle object is greater than the object and then O. Okay, so this one will be return a positive integer. Okay, positive number. Okay, so let's say this one will return 1. So if this circle object is less than the, let me use this as a C. So this one, otherwise the 0 and O is looks very similar. Okay, let's use C. If this object is less than the another object, this one will be return a negative number. Okay, negative integer. Let's say this one will be return a -1. So if this circle object is equal to the object C, this one will be return 0. Okay, so this is how, yeah, comparable interface will be return an integer. The integer could be the positive integer, negative integer, or 0. If it is equal to 0, means these two object is equal. If this object is greater than the object passed here, that will be return a positive integer. Otherwise, that will be return a negative integer. Okay, now let's implement this two circle. Since if we try to compare two circle, basically we will compare the circle's radius, right? Okay, so let's compare if this dot radius, okay, this dot radius is greater than the C's radius. Okay, this one will be return a positive number. Yeah, let me. Else if this circle's radius is less than C's radius, okay, so this one will be return a negative integer. So if it's not greater, not less than, which is means that is the same. Okay, so for this case, that will be return 0. This is how we implement the comparable interface for the circle. Okay, so after we implement this comparable interface for the circle, now we can make the circle object is comparable. How can we compare these two circles? We compare the radius. If the radius is larger, we said this circle is larger. Okay, so now let's testing our circle object with the comparable interface. Okay, so go to your main methods. Okay, so now let's see, let's construct a circle object. Okay, let's call this is a circle 1. Okay, equal to new circle of, let's say I want to construct a circle with radius of 2, and let's say I have another circle, and this time the circles, I use the default constructor, which is, if it's a default constructor, which is, remember in our circle class, if we use the default constructor, default we use the radius as 1. Okay, so now let's go to our main methods. Okay, so now let's say this time let's print out our circle 1 and circle 2. Okay, so circle 1 dot to string methods. Yeah, let me copy this here. Okay, so circle 1, and then we print out the circle 2. Okay, so now let's run it. You can see you have 2 circles. Your circle 1 with a radius of 2, your circle 2 with radius of 1. Okay, so now this time is I'm trying to compare 2 circles. Okay, so if we try to compare 2 circles, okay, so let's see system dot, yeah, let me write down this here. Okay, so if circle 1 dot compare to circle 2. Okay, so if this compared to circle 2, if this is greater than 0, and we will be print out system.out. Print line. Okay, print what? Print circle 1 is greater than circle 2. Okay, so else if, yeah, let me copy this here. Okay, so Control C, Control V. Else if this is less than 0, this is less than 0, which is means the circle 1 is less than okay, yeah, circle 2. Okay, so else, and we print out what? We print out circle 1 is equal to circle 2. Okay, so now let's run it. You can see since we circle 1's radius is 2, circle 2's radius is 1, so circle 1 is greater than circle 2. Okay, so if I change this to, if I change the circle 2 is 10, now we need to print out the circle 1 is less than circle 2. Okay, if this 2 circle has a same radius, this one will be returned. Circle 1 is equal to circle 2. Circle 1 is equal to circle 2.
When we don't put the value in the circle, they consider that is 1, right? The default that you declare is 1. This option that you put circle 10 before was without the value. So the Java assume that the value is 1 because you declared downstairs.
Okay,
right?
so yes, by default,
Yeah.
if you didn't pass any
Yeah,
parameter,
this one, yes. You
Yeah,
consider
by-
that the rate is 1. When,
yes,
yeah,
correct. Yeah,
the
exactly.
default is 1.
Yes. Okay. So, okay. So now let's back to our main methods. Okay. So remember, this is how we implement this comparable generic interface for circle. You may see here now. You said, actually, I want to compare to my cell. Okay, I want to compare my cell. Okay, so how can we do that? Go to your cell class, okay, and make your cell class implements comparable interface. Okay, since you need to compare to cell, okay, so which is you need to okay, so you need to make your cell compare to your cell. Okay, so after we implement this comparable, we need to override the compare to methods. Okay, so we need to override Okay, so public int compare to methods. Okay, so compare to methods is we need to compare a cell with another cell. Okay, so let's call this is another cell object. Okay, so if we compare to cell, we compare the cells prisoner. Okay, so we compare cells prisoner. Okay, so let's see. Since cells prisoner, which is a type of key. Okay, so this one is simply we expect. Since for example, if we expect the T is comparable. Okay, so then we return what? We will return this dot prisoner dot compare to what? Compare to objects prisoner. Okay, so if it's greater, then we will return the one. We will return a positive integer. If it's less, we will return the negative integer. If it's equal, we will return 0. Okay, so this is how we implement the comparable interface for my another generic class. Okay. Okay, so now let's testing. Let's first compile. Wait a second. Okay, prisoner T. Okay, since the T need to be comparable. Yeah. Okay, so let's not doing this right now because we need to introduce the this is the next class topic. Okay, so now let's first comment this part, and we will introduce you this boundary in the next class. Okay, at this moment you just comment this right now. Okay, so okay, and now let's give you some more example to how to use this generic class. Okay, so go back to your main methods. Okay, go back to your main methods. Now let's see. We also can define a array list of the generic class. Okay, so for example, I want to define the array list. Okay, now this time I want to have an array list of the circle. Okay, so my array list of the circle, we call this is a circle list, is new array list. Okay, so this is we create an array list of the circle, this empty array list of a circle, and in this list we want to add a new circle to the array list. Okay, so let's create a new circle. Okay, empty one, and my circle. Let's add another new circle with a radius of 4. Okay, so since we use an array list, now we need to import the array list class. Okay, so we need to import java.util. Let's use a star. So, and then since the array list, this class is under the Java util package. Okay, utility package. Okay, so now you can see we have array list. This array list is generic class, and the element in my array list is circle. Okay, so this is how we create a circle list object. Then we add 2 circles here. Okay, so after we add this here, now let's print out system.println. Let's print out what's in my circle list. Okay, what is in my circle list? Your circle list should be have 2 circle object. Okay, so now let's compile and let's run it. Okay, now you can see your array list has 2 elements, 2 circles. Okay, so one is with radius of 1, the other is radius of 4. Okay, so now let's add one more. Okay, see, true way. Okay, let me add another one is 2. Okay, now my array list contains 3 circle object. Okay, so since we already implement the circle with comparable. Okay, so now let's do this. Okay, so for my I want to sort. Okay, let's see the let me first make sure we have this one is okay. So sort means for I have 3 circle object. I can call these array list sort methods and sorting these 3 one. And when we sorting, so if you try to sort something, sorting is always based on the comparison, right? Since the circle is comparable, and when we sort the circle, we will compare circle with its radius. Since so now after you sort, and now let's see, and the circle's object in the array list will be sorting by its radius. Now let's run it. You can see. Okay, so originally you have the 3 circle in your array list. After I call these sort methods, and my circle object will be sorted in the array list. Why we can use the sort methods? Because for the circle class, we implement the comparable interface. We make the circle object is comparable. Okay, so that is how we after we implement the comparable interface, how can we make this circle object comparable? Okay, so now let's talk about how to create array of the generic class. Okay, so for example, this time is I'm trying to create array of the style. Okay, so and yeah, so let's so for example, if you want to create the array of integer, okay, so I call this is int array, and this is how you define how you create an integer array. So and you need to say, okay, new integer, I need this have 2 elements. That is how you create an array of integer. Okay, so similar, yeah. So you need to tell the data type in the array. So for example, in this case is I want to make my array, the array's elements is a cell, and each cell hold an integer prisoner. Okay, and this is array. I call this is a cell array, and in my cell array, this one will be okay. Contain, let's see, 3 elements, three integer cell. Okay, so this is how we define how we define the array with the elements, array with the elements of a generic class. Okay, so in this case is, remember, cell is your generic class, and since we are trying to create, we replace the generic type with integer. Okay, this is in an array. My cell will be hold a integer prisoner. Okay, so okay, so now let's add elements here. Okay, so this time is for my cell array, and the first element, let me make the new cell of integer. Okay, so let's say this cell hold a this cell will be hold a the prisoner of 10, and let's see. Okay, so the next one will be, let's make this hold a 3, and the last one will be hold a value of 2. Okay, so now let's see what's in my, let's print out my, okay, print out my cell array. Okay, so Okay, so what you now this time is we will use this enhanced for loop to print out all the cells in my cell array. Okay, so for each element in the cell, okay, so I call this is element in my cell array. Okay, so what we can do is I want to print out this element. Okay, I want to print out this element. Okay, so remember in this case is your cell has a this is a 10, 3, and 2. Okay, so now let's run it. Oops, wait a second, let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, we need to. Okay, so this one is okay, so if you try to create a generic array of the class, you cannot just using the generic type right here. Okay, so this is we need to, yeah, that's one will be okay. So which, yeah, you cannot use a new to create a generic array. Okay, so how can we actually do that? Okay, so let's put this right here. So this is our array, okay, cell array, and this time is we need to create array with 3 objects. Okay, so let's see. Oops, right here is new object with 3 objects. Okay. And since this object, we need casting this to a cell. Okay, we need casting this to a cell type. Okay, so okay, wait a second. Let me see where is my okay, right here. Okay, since my cell and the prisoner is a integer type. Okay, so this is how I casting this object to a cell array. Okay, so now we compare.
Can
Now
you
it's
explain casting? Can you just explain that line again, please?
this line.
Yes, please.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you try to create a generic array, okay, generic array, you cannot just doing this. Why? Because when the compiler, the integer that will be replaced later by the compiler. Okay, so which is means what? You first need to create an array of the object, and this object will be, we need to casting this object to the actual generic type.
Thank you.
Okay, so now you can see here. Okay, so you can see here, you got this, there's no compiler error, but this give you the warning. Okay, they said uses unchecked or unsafe operation. This is unchecked, but it's fine. This is fine. That is how it did it. Okay, so now let's print. Wait a second. Okay, so
I think it's more simple if you declare your array like cell array receive new into a tree.
here.
I think the other way that's declare the array is more easy than this way.
Okay, so this one is okay. So yeah, if you create, for example, if you trying to create an array of circle, okay, since a circle is not a generic class, you just need to like, okay, every element is a circle. Okay, yeah, no. Every element is a circle, and I have this circle array. equal to new circle, and I have how many circles? For example, 3 circles. That is how you. This way is for the. This is a concrete. This is not a generic class. Okay, if you're trying to create an array of the circle, that is how you did it. Okay, so but
No, I mean, you see where you write the circle on the top, like you declare on the
Yeah.
top here. No, go down. Where do you?
Which
Yeah,
line?
this
Which
way.
line? Give me the
No,
line
no,
number.
no. This circle. No,
Huh?
no. The last line that you 64 in line is 64. This way. I think
Okay.
these ways is better to declare.
Oh.
Then you need to put it cell R.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, I tell you what. Okay, since this int
this way.
is a primitive data type. Okay, this is a primitive type. This is how you create of array of a primitive data type. Okay, so this is integer. See, this is a lowercase integer. Okay, this is a way you create array of a class object, a circle class object. Okay, so this is a way is how you create array of a generic type. Okay, this cell, which is a generic type.
It's more complex, this generic,
Yes,
than the
yes.
other one.
Yes, correct. Oh, okay, so which is this is a new circle. I forgot to add this new circle. Okay, so each element is a circle, right? Okay, let me copy this here. Control C, Control V, and Control V. Okay. Each array element that is a circle. Okay, so in this cell array, this is array. Each element in the array is a cell. Okay, is a cell. Oh yeah, wait a second. Is a cell. It's not a. Yeah, let's make this cell of the string instead of cell of the integer, because that will be too much work to do. Okay, so now let's see. This is a cell of the string. The prisoner in this cell is a string. Okay, so the cell in this one is a string. So the first cell is hold, let's see, ABC. And the second cell will be a prisoner is XYZ. The last cell will be hosted the NJCU. Okay, so that is, and now for every element in the cell, we will be print out it. Okay, so let's compile. Wait a second, where I got, oh yeah, this is a cell. This is a cell. This is a cell. Okay, this is not a cell and cell. New cell object. New cell object. What I'm doing? Yeah, what I'm doing. So sorry. Okay, so let me see. This one is yeah, we got each cell object. Okay, so this each cell object is okay, so for each element. Okay, so now that should be good. Okay, wait a second, what's going on here? Okay, they didn't. Okay, casting exceptions cannot be casting to cell. Yeah, okay, so cannot be casting to cell. Wait a second. It should work. Let me see. Why it cannot be casting now? Okay, it's weird. So this should work. cell array, and we need, yeah. Why this cannot be casting? Let me check this again. Okay, so this definitely worked previously. It said cannot be casting to cell.
Maybe you could check your main methods. Maybe.
No, just this line. Okay, so let me see why this.
Now I think how you
Yeah, it
declare.
should work. It's yeah, the I don't know why this okay, so let me check this again. Okay, so in this line 64, and they said this object cannot be, okay, so okay, weird actually. This worked. Okay, so let me after class, let me check this. Okay, so I definitely, this is how we casting a array of object to a generic type. Okay, so where did I got why this cannot be?
Try to use the declaration of line 64 inside of this one.
No, circle is a cell is a generic class. Circle is not.
No,
Circle is not. Circle is not a generic class. Okay. Okay, so let me try this way. Okay, since this one should work. Okay, so and what's going on? Let me Control C here, Control V. Okay, instead of using the generic type, I just simply make this is a cell. Let's see, 3. Okay, so let me try this one. Okay, and okay, now it's good. That is three
okay,
parameter.
yeah, it's better, yeah.
Yeah, but actually this one should work. Okay, since this is how we casting a object to a generic type. Okay, so but I'll figure out what's going on with this piece of code later on. Okay, so okay, so that is how you this is how you define a array of the generic type. Okay, so now let's see another let's define the generic methods. Okay. Okay, these generic methods we will be now let's construct let's construct a generic method to display my, let's say, display the my array of the generic type. Okay, so okay, going to after this is this is my main methods, right? I need to create a generic method. Okay, how can we create a generic static methods? Let's create a generic static methods. Okay, so the public static. Okay, so okay, so if you make your generic methods, which is and you need to specify using T. Okay, so void And this one will be using to display what? Display the array of my generic type. Okay, so and so for this one is we might want to display what? For all the elements in the array, okay, I just want to print out. Okay, I just want to print out system print line, print out this element. Okay, so to define the generic methods, okay, so this is what you need to add, because your method's parameter is a generic type. Okay, this is array of type T. Okay, so now let's compile. Okay, so now let's test in this one here. Okay, so this time what I want to do is I want to call my generic methods. There's a two way to call this one. So since this is your we can display what? Display my cell array. Okay, let's display my cell array, and you pass your generic type of the array. Replace this one with the circle string. Okay, so I will be print out my cell array. Okay, so when we call that is how you call this. This is how you call these generic methods. Okay, so this is the first way. Since this is a generic, this is a static methods. You just call. We are in the same class. You just call this method. That's all. Okay. The other way, this is we want to call a generic method. The other way is we can call the generic methods is okay. So you can give in the class. You can call with the class name dot, and you giving this like this is a concrete type, and then you have this method name. Okay, and you give these parameters. Okay, that is how you call the generic methods with the class name. Okay, in our cases, our class name is Chapter19-1. Okay, so you copy this one, and now let's Control V. This is my class name. Okay, now this time is I'm trying to print out my I'm trying to print out my cell array. Okay, so and this is my cell array. Oh yeah, cells. Okay, so this is this one will be using to replace the T in this here. Okay, so and then my method name is display. Okay, what we want to display? I want to display my cell array. Okay, so now let's compile, and now let's run it. That is how you call, how you call this is the way how you call a generic static methods. Okay, so you have your class name, and this is inside here. That is a T you want to replace. Okay, this is T you want to replace, and your method name and your parameter. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so now let's recap. Okay, so in today's class, we learn about the generic. Okay, so we talk about the generic class, generic interface, and the generic methods. Okay, so why we, the motivation, why we need to learn this generic class. Okay, since we make this array list a generic, so this will be allow us to put we make this is a generic type. Okay, so which is we when we try to write the program, and the generic type can be replaced with a concrete class. If you want to put a string in array list, you change this generic type with a string. If you want to put an integer in array list, you change this to an integer. Okay, so this is why we need to learn the generic class, and why we learn the generic interface. Okay, so for example, compare to comparable interface. If you want to compare the comparable interface, which is we will compare to object. Okay, since we need to make sure we compare. If we compare circle, we need to make sure we compare circle with circle. You cannot compare apple with orange. That is not comparable. So which is means if we want to compare circle with circle, we need to replace this generic type with a actual, like with a circle. If we try to compare to string, this is how we compare to circle. And generic methods, which is like in this methods display. Okay, so I want to display the array elements in the array, and I'm not but what type of the array this is, I don't care. I want to use a generic type of the array. So if you use a generic type of the array, make your method is a generic type. Okay, so if this is a generic type, and this is a T, so you need to add this T right here. Okay, so keep in mind this could be any letter. Okay, you may say I want to use the X. That's fine. Any letter is okay. This letter just represents that is a generic type. Okay, so for example, I change this to X. That doesn't matter. Okay, so okay, so you add the generic type right here. Since I using T because T, this is a more makes sense. T means type, the generic type. Okay, so that is why we need need this generic methods. Okay, generic methods will be dealing with my parameter may be a generic type. Okay, so okay, so what? Yeah, so for the when we talk about when we define this generic, no matter it's class, interface, or methods, we using the one uppercase letter to represent a generic type. This is a convention. We using T represents type. We using E represents elements. We using key represents value, key value, and the numbers. Okay, so any uppercase letters or word should be good for the to represent a generic type. Okay, so we still have several minutes. Let's working. I think let's working on the little bit more examples. Okay, so for example, I want to create let's back to here. Okay, so I think we need to study more, little bit more. Okay, so for example, I want to create array list. Okay, so in the array list, each element is a pair. Okay, so which is means I want to create an array list, and in the array list, each element is a integer to integer pair. Okay, so each element is a pair, integer to integer pair. Okay, so let's call this is a pair. Let's call this is a pair list. This pair list is this is an array list. Okay, this is how we create an empty array list. This array list of the pair. Okay, so now let's in my pair list. Pair list, we use the add methods. Let's add the first pair, new pair. this pair is okay, so this pair is let's see, is 1 to 1. Okay, so I just make this let me first so make sure this is good, and let's copy this one. Okay, Control C. Oops. Okay, so Control V. Okay, so I have two pairs, 1 1 2 2 and 3 and 3. Okay, this is my array. This is array list of the pair. Okay, so now let's see what's in my array list. Okay, so system dot out dot println, and let's print out my pair list. Okay, so we expect we will print out these 3 pairs. Okay, so now let's see here. Okay, this is my array list with 3 pairs. In the first pair, the keys 1 value is 1, keys 2 value is 2, and so on. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so if you don't have a question, we can stop here now, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Okay.
Could you
Fine.
Scroll down or scroll up?
Scroll down.
Okay, so scroll down. Which part? This part?
Yep, that part. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so anybody need me to help you to debug your code? Let me stop recording.